Okay, folks, here is your lecture on Module 28, which is job application letters. I'll go ahead and get started. Okay, job letters basically have two components that you really want to focus on more than anything in terms of content. The first is you want to explain to the employer that you meet or that you have the major requirements of the job for which you are applying. That's just simple, basic stuff. You don't have to spend a ton of time on it because it's not going to be something that separates you from other candidates, but it is going to be something that you need to establish before they move forward with your resume and job letter. But you also want to make sure that you take some time and highlight some points that separate you or might separate you from other applicants. Maybe you have a particularly unique experience that might separate you. Maybe you've got a particular connection to the company. There could be all sorts of stuff. Maybe you've won some sort of award. Maybe you've got a really long service record within the industry. Anything you can think of to highlight, that's some content that you're really going to want to foreground. But as always, you're really going to want to make sure that you have you attitude when you are foregrounding that. Additionally, you want to make sure that you make some points that show and demonstrate your knowledge of the company. It's okay for you to have just recently learned the information. There's nothing wrong with letting them know that you researched their company when you saw the job ad. It's not absolutely necessary to put that in there, but you certainly don't want to try to word things awkwardly or anything like that to avoid mentioning that you just learned of their company. But if you have been familiar with their company for a long time, that might not be a bad strategy to explain what you know about their history, any interaction that you've had, or any importance that that particular company has played in your life along the way. Can humanize you, can make you more than just an applicant, and very likely it's one strategy that will work to separate you from other candidates. And also, don't forget to, just like on the resume, when you make sure you cover just some of the basic skills, it's okay to mention those in your job letter as well. Again, with you attitude, the ability to write and speak effectively, to solve problems, to get along with people, leadership styles, basic, team management, all sorts of stuff that anybody is going to value, even if it doesn't explicitly ask for it in this particular job description. Those things that are sort of universally sought after, those things are also okay to mention in the job letter. All right. In terms of style and content, if at all possible, you want to address the letter to a specific person. And I would go so far as to say, I actually don't know if it's really worth sending it if you don't. And I don't say that to keep you from applying for jobs. I say that to make sure you put in a little extra effort, if necessary, to find out who you should be addressing it to. It's always better to address it to a particular person if at all possible. And that might be just something as simple as calling up the company's secretary or administrative assistant or human resources department, mentioning that you're really excited about the job and that you're looking forward to applying. And just to make sure that you make a good impression, you want to address it to the right person. Something as simple as that. They will almost always give you the name of someone to address it to. And if not, at that point, it's probably best not to address it to a specific person, but at least you tried. Our book says don't mention relatives' names. I'm not quite sure what they're getting at there, but you certainly don't want to be a name dropper in your letter. You don't want to rely on the favor of someone else to get you in. So whether that's a relative name or someone who has some influence within the company that you're applying to. And you should also omit any personal information not directly related to the job. Now, it can be tempting if you have some really great personal information, why you're moving across the country or something like that. But really, that's the kind of material that will come across in an interview, and it's much safer to bring it across in an interview when you have a better sense for the communication style and preferences of the person who will be doing the hiring. As far as the style goes, unless you're applying for a job at a design firm or an architecture firm or something within the creative industries, you really want to use a conservative style. I would say almost formal. Don't use contractions if you can avoid them. Certainly don't have sentence fragments. Avoid cliches and slang. And if you're not sure what cliches are, you can find lots and lots of lists on the internet. And then, of course, like with any document, you want to make sure you edit it carefully and proof it several times to make sure that it's perfect. When your resume is one among lots and lots and lots of them, and yours has an error or two, it certainly does separate you from the others, but not necessarily in a very positive way. Now, there are basically two kinds of positions that you'll be applying for. One that's been solicited and one that hasn't. Now, when you're applying for a job that has been advertised or that has been mentioned to you directly, basically a job that is open for application, you want to write what's called a solicited letter. And the kind of stuff that's in a solicited letter is you want to include things like stating which job exactly you're applying for. Lots of times companies are hiring for more than one position. You want to phrase the job title just as it's phrased in the advertisement or in the listing. You want to develop your major qualifications in detail. And again, this material is in our textbook. If you want to read further on it, you want to develop other qualifications, even if the source doesn't ask for them. But again, you want to make sure that it's something that's going to be relevant to the job as best you can understand. And then, as always, like we've been talking about in class, any document that you send in a professional context, the person's got to know what to do with it. And in this case, you want an interview. So make sure you go ahead and ask for the interview. Now, when you have an unsolicited, whoa, what's going on there? Okay. When you have an unsolicited position, this is what's called a prospecting letter. Now here, your job is a little harder in one sense because you're not responding directly to an open invitation or a direct invitation. You're trying to create a position or plant a seed in their mind. There's all sorts of things, but your purpose is still to ask for an interview. But in this case, you want to get the reader's attention early. That's probably more important than mentioning a particular job. You want to create a bridge between this attention getter and your qualifications. So you don't want to get their attention somehow and then awkwardly move into a set of your qualifications. You want to find some sort of transition to work with in there. You want to focus on what you know and what you can do. And again, you always want to frame that in terms of what you know and what you can do for them. And again, remember the difference between features and benefits. Okay, what you know is a feature, and what you can do is a feature. How it will affect their company is the benefit, and you want to make sure that you don't stop merely at listing the features. Definitely make sure that they have an understanding of how what you bring to them will actually have an effect on the company. And of course, develop your strong points in detail. And all that really means is there's only so many things that an employer is going to, or a hiring manager is going to remember from a given letter. And rather than overwhelming them with lots and lots of points about why you're appropriate for the job, why you're the best person for the job, it's okay to mention a lot of things, but really you only want to really cultivate and create sort of memorability around a couple strong points, things that you think they will value the most highly, or things that might separate you from other applicants. And of course, once again, make sure you ask for an interview. Let's see. All right, in terms of content, let's see. In terms of content, you want to send this one definitely to a specific person. Almost always an unsolicited letter sent just to Human Resources Department will, at best, go on file. It's very rare that will be sent to a decision maker, unless that decision maker asks for those sorts of documents. If you have a specific position in mind, you want to remember to mention that. Be specific about your qualifications. Again, you don't want to spend a ton of time talking about your qualifications, but you do want to make sure that you establish that you are at least qualified for the position, as qualified as anybody else, and then go ahead and separate yourself. But again, best way to do that, positive emphasis, you attitude, really thinking thoroughly and effectively about what sort of employee that company is going to value. And then, show your knowledge of the company and the position, and you can find out information about the company in all sorts of ways. You can look on their website, you can call Human Resources and ask if they have any information available. You can look in the library. There are all sorts of databases that keep track of different sorts of information. Certainly newspapers are excellent places to start. And when you go on a company's website, you want to look for things like company goals or mission statements. Those are important, but also you want to look at to see if the company has posted any what are these things called, press releases. That's sort of the official word, and it might not be bad to let them know that you're keeping track, or that you've done your homework about the company, especially framed within the way that they would like you to frame the information. You want to refer to your resume, and you want to ask for an interview. One thing you don't want to do, though, is you don't want to sort of talk about or explain or narrate your resume. Your resume should stand on its own. Your resume really isn't there so much to tell a story as it is to be a document, a resource where the employer or the hiring person can go take a look if they're trying to find something in particular. As far as job letters go, I personally don't recommend using a second page, but if for some reason you need to, it's generally not considered a huge faux pas. And as always, use you attitude, use positive emphasis, and you should be fine. Thank you very much.